Okay, so this is kind of something that I probably should have done a long time ago, but I want to talk about how to make a nice looking water shader. So what we've got here is a shader setup that looks like this, and I'm going to show basically what all these things do and how we're going to reach this point. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new plane. I'm going to move it up so it's kind of in the middle here. And I'm just going to make it nice and big so it covers the area of the scene. I'm going to create a new material, and I'm going to just start by getting rid of this principled shader, and I am going to add in a glossy shader. I'm going to plug this in here and make this with very little roughness so it's very reflective. And in a pinch, you can basically make water like this, like if you just need something to reflect and be like, okay, this is kind of a watery surface. But let's get in and actually, make this have some depth and refraction and some texture. So let's start with the texture. I'm going to just add in a Musgrave texture. I'm going to plug this into the displacement, and I'm going to make the scale just a bit bigger like this, and going to control shift click on this so I can see it in the viewport or as the surface. And this might be a node wrangler enabled tool, so if you don't have that enabled, go to the preferences and turn that on. Okay, so we can see what the scale is doing here. I want to add a bit more detail and add, let's see, a little less dimensions so it's a little bit more wavy like this. I think that looks good. I'm going to add in a mix RGB and plug this into that. So now it looks like this. And I'm going to add in a noise texture. I'm going to put that into here with a factor. I'm going to select this so we can see what it's looking like. And it's looking like this. I'm going to bring the scale up a bit and keep it kind of a mid roughness and keep the detail pretty similar right now anyways. So if I select this, you can see this is what it's looking like. I kind of want there to be patches of both, so I'm going to duplicate this Musgrave. I'm going to add in a transparent texture here, and I'm going to put these through a mix shader. So now you can see we've got some depth to this because we can actually see through it, and that looks okay on its own. I want to change this. I might make it a nice pleasant greenish for now. Like that's starting to look pretty cool actually. And you can change how much of each we see. Probably don't want too much of the glossy, just enough so we get some reflection on here, but I want to be able to see through because I want to make this look nice. So, yeah, I'm starting to be happy with where this is going, but it's still missing some stuff, like the refraction. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect this transparent and just move this over here. I'm going to duplicate this mix and put it here and put the transparent in over here so I can control this on its own. And I'm going to add in a refraction node here. And let's see, I'll put this on the top, this on the bottom. And what does the refraction node do? Well, basically it refracts, so as you can see, it's making everything that's beneath this material here look very flat and washed out, even though there is depth to it. And we kind of want that because the water is going to distort what's underneath it. But also, it doesn't have a lot of reflection on it, and it's a little too much, I feel like. And it kind of, when you look at it, it's a little bit like, oh, what is wrong with that material? So that's why I want to mix it through with the glossy so we get a bit of best of both worlds. I want this to be a bit more heavy on the refraction side of things, like this, so we still get some of that gloss. Let's put it maybe here, and some of that reflectivity, but also it's got the refraction underneath as well. While we're at it, I want to make this roughness on here a bit more interesting, so I'm going to plug the color from this mix into the roughness to give it kind of some areas that are a lot less rough and areas that are more rough. I'm going to add in a color ramp here to control this. And remember, black areas are going to have 0 roughness, white areas are going to have total roughness, and we don't want anything to be completely rough, so I want to make this be at best gray, and we're going to change this from linear to ease, so it's just a bit more of a gradual slope. So now you can see it's a lot more of a subtle difference than before when it was just very in your face. So now it's looking like this with both of these, and like this with all of them. Let's see. I think we're going to want to ease off a little bit on that transparent. I don't want it to be quite so see-through. I want it to be a little bit more like this. And that's looking pretty good, except I'm going to walk back on what I said earlier. I think this here is getting a little distracting. I'm just going to delete that out, and I think that looks much better. There's less extreme highlights coming on. And yeah, this is how I arrived at my result. It's very quick to throw together. It looks pretty good. And if you want to move these and have them move arounds, you can change the noise from 3D to 4D, and you have this, I'm just going to select this so you can see what I'm doing. You have this here, which basically moves this around without changing the scale. So if you Control T to bring up this mapping and texture coordinate nodes, you can move this around and keyframe that in to get some movement. It's a very good way to get like a quick little animation going. I believe you can do the same for here too, yeah, with the Musgrave. So if you were to plug these in and just say we'll move them on the X, sure, I'm gonna do hover over this, press I to insert a keyframe. I'm gonna go to the layout. I'm gonna move a bit further down the timeline here. I'm gonna move the Z. I'm going to do 0.2 works. I'm going to press I again. And I'm going to select both these. Shift E, linear extrapolation. Linear extrapolation. So now if I press play, it's just constantly going to move. Now it's going a little fast, so we can just take this keyframe and drag it forward. So it should be a bit more of a subtle difference now. I'm going to put it to viewport shading so that it will actually be a little bit more obvious what is going on here, because Cycles is great, but it's not going to be able to update fast enough to watch this. So now you can see we've got some subtle, nice movement going on here. And you can imagine it looks very nice when you rendered in Cycles, and that is how I would make some nice looking water shaders.